Hey everybody, hope you're having a beautiful day. I just wanted to talk a little bit about perspective. Yeah. Now, what I mean by that is I did not document it. So last week, I had a really shitty week. I'm gonna actually put this down so I can talk a little bit more. This is a weird angle. I don't know if I like it. Alright, so perspective. Last week, I had a really shitty week. Mentally, physically, everything. I was sick for most of the week, which ended up making me kind of foggy, hazy, unmotivated. I didn't really want to do too much. I just felt blah. And I get it, like, yeah, take care of your body when you're sick, but I have a lot of shit that I need to get done. And it was going to be a busy week. So I was just trying to, like, be as efficient as possible. I had deadlines to meet, some deadlines that I didn't get to meet. I had some shoots, I had some stuff that we were doing. So I got sick probably like on Sunday or something. Saturday or Sunday, so I felt shitty through the weekend. And then Monday comes along and it's like starting to get a little bit better, but I still feel like shit. But it's the first day that I'm trying to actually attack some work. So I start doing some work and try to get as much done as possible, because the next day, Tuesday into Wednesday, is when Kim and I were going to go to Foxwoods, because for Christmas and like holidays, that's what we'll get each other. Both go halves on a trip to Foxwoods. And that was like the day that we've had planned and like booked and all that stuff. So I was like, you know what, screw it. Like, even though we're not feeling good, we're only going for bingo anyways. So I tried to get as much done on Monday as possible, and I was just getting in my head because I was like, I'm not going to be able to get enough done. Tuesday comes along, I get a little bit done before I have to go pick her up. I go, pick her up, and then we go to Foxwoods. While we're at Foxwoods, we don't win anything, and it's whatever. My father always said, only bet what you can afford to lose, or only gamble what you can afford to lose. So, which, I mean, at this point, I can't afford much, so I didn't bring much. But yeah, so we did that, and then on Wednesday we were coming back, and I was starting to get in my head because I had a really big gig last Thursday and Friday, probably the biggest corporate gig that we've had up to this point under 41st. And I was like, all right, I want to get back early on Wednesday. I want to like relax. I want to go to bed early because I had to wake up at like 5:30, which is tough for me. So I had to like wake up at 5:30 because each day for these shoots was going to be 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So 10-hour days. So we're coming back on Wednesday, and I'm already like feeling like blah, right? And I'm already like, all right, well, I took an L. I took an L when I was sick. I fell backwards on some shit. All right, cool. There's going to be a W tomorrow, right? And then, we go to Foxwoods, and we're both kind of sick, so it's both kind of blah, and like, whatever, cool. I guess this is a little bit of an L. Still had a good time, but so took another L, whatever, cool. There's something tomorrow, right? I'm going to get a W soon. And then Wednesday comes around. We're heading back from Connecticut, and we're leaving early, and I'm actually starting to feel better, and I'm starting to get pumped, because I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back, we're going to have something to eat, I'm going to go home, I'm going to get a little bit of work done, and then I'm going to like meditate, read a book, rest, and just like mentally prepare myself for the next couple days. Because on that Saturday, I was possibly going to go to a shoot in New York with Nate Love, which didn't end up happening because of weather and other stuff. But that was the goal. So literally my week was stacked. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it was going to be long days. And I'm like trying to finish stuff and trying to recover and trying to mentally prepare myself for this, because I took a few L's. And then as we're driving back, we're not even halfway back yet, and all of a sudden I start feeling a little putt-putt in my car, right? Like, what's this? I'm like going to accelerate, and it's kind of like chugging, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm on the highway. And I was like, oh, and all of a sudden it starts kind of like really putt-putting, and all of a sudden my check engine light goes off, and it starts beeping and flashing, and now my car is not like accelerating really at all. And so I'm like, okay, shit. So flick on the blinker, boop. I don't know why I said boop. There we go. That's better. And then pull over. Yeah, it was not good. But the good thing is that I pulled over in time, because we looked it up. I did not know what a flashing check engine light meant. And we looked it up, and it meant that my engine was misfiring, which apparently two things could have happened. One, engine could have like died if I kept going, which would have sucked, because then I would have needed an engine. And that is pricey. Two is that the engine could have caught on fire, and I could have started a car fire. Now, that is something else that I probably don't want happening, so I'm glad that that did not happen. But what I had to do was call AAA, but while we were waiting, sit in the car, and I'm just processing everything, and I'm processing this week, and I'm like, oh man, another L. And then I just started laughing. And then Kim's like, why are you laughing? And I was like, there is going to be such a big W right around the corner. I don't know what it is, but there has to be. Right? That's it. That's all that you could do, because I could have sat there and started pouting and bitching and put myself into a shitty mood that was just unhealthy for myself, and it would have put me in a worse spot than where I was. So I kind of, instead of saying, why did this happen to me? I started asking myself, why did this happen to me? Right? And then by doing that and just kind of changing my perspective a little bit, I think it helped me in the situation, because I feel like a lot of things stacked up through the week could have really gotten to me, and if you were to talk to me maybe like a year and a half ago, it would have really gotten to me. So anyways, I said that, I was like, there's a W around the corner. I don't know what it's going to be, but there's some reason why this is all happening. Anyways, I forget the guy's name, but the guy who picked us up in a tow truck and towed my car, super, super nice guy. We had a good conversation on the way back, just all about society and communication and the lack thereof in society, and a lot of the negative aspects that social media brings. And it was a very interesting car ride back, but super nice dude. I don't think he'll ever see this, but shout out to him for making the ride enjoyable. So now I'm starting to not panic a little bit, but I'm like, all right, I need to figure out what I'm going to do to get to my gig tomorrow and the next day. I was about to take a huge L and take Ubers both ways, both days, which would have probably put me out almost $300, between $200 to $300 that I would have lost. But I would have done it because it was already set in stone. The studio, Somerville Studios, where we were shooting at, that was already booked. They already put a deposit on the gig. They already paid for everything. So I was like, we need to make it happen. Can't reschedule. How can I fix this? And Kim had the idea of me hitting up my grandma, which I don't do usually. I mean, I'm grandma's boy, and I love my grandma, as you can see from the little April Fool's joke that I played on her last year. But I don't know, I don't like asking her for stuff. I realized that I was kind of in a sticky situation, and I needed to. So I called up my grandma, and I'm like, hey grandma. And I asked her if she was okay with me borrowing the car. I explained that I had a gig, I explained what happened, and she was fine with it. And then she was like, yeah, that's fine, just let me know when you're coming by. I was like, cool. So after we got the car towed all the way back to Lowell from North Attleboro, which was over an hour, my father picked us up there, brought me to my grandmother's, got the car. I was talking with her for a little bit, and she goes, yeah, mine's putt-putting too, so hopefully it gets you to where you gotta go. And it was kind of one of those moments where it was pat grandma on the head, and it's like, I'm sure it is, grandma. Yeah, you're probably imagining it. Okay. Anyways, I give her a hug, give her a kiss. Got the car. So I was bringing Kim home, and on the way back, I was starting to feel a little bit of a putt-putt. I was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And then I felt a little bit again. It wasn't as intense as mine, but it was a little one. And all of a sudden, the check engine light pops on. And I'm like, the f***? And I started laughing because I was like, universe, what's up? What are you doing? What are you trying to teach me? What am I taking away from this? And I was just I don't even know. I was so confused, but I was like, I cannot wait for this W. I cannot wait for it. So anyways, I drive back safely. I'm going 45, 50 on the highway. I'm trying to not over push this car at all. So I get home safely. Next day, wake up, starts up, check engine light's still on. I make it to my gig, I'm driving back. I called up my father, my car was done. So I was bringing my car to the mechanic. I was bringing grandma's car to the mechanic to drop it off there to give a swapperoo and get my car back. But the good thing was that nothing serious was wrong with my car. And I realized that through this vlog, and it depends on if I think about it or not, you'll hear me say car and you'll hear me say car. Now, the difference between car and car is how focused I am to what I'm saying. If I'm really attentive, if that's the word, attentive, if I'm paying attention to what I'm saying, then I will usually say car if I'm trying to make a point and put emphasis on something. If I'm just talking and it's just flowing and I'm not really focused on anything, except for just trying to get the message across and trying to get the story across, then I'll probably say car because I'm not really paying attention. The only time that I pronounce my I's is when I try to make a point or in my poetry. So, fun fact. Anyways, I get it back and there was a wire that has been on it since the original wire has never been replaced. So it had 188,000 miles on it. So that shit the bed, it was in the engine, and then a couple spark plugs and some other shit. So it didn't set me back that far. Definitely money that I could not afford, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and it could have been a lot worse, plus I could have been dead. So, perspective. As I was driving home, I wanted to call my grandmother just to thank her and tell her how much I appreciate it because of just that. of her allowing me to borrow it and just how big the gig was and how bad I needed to like make sure that it happened. Which, by the way, the gig went very well. And we shot over like 350 different exercises over the span of 2 days. So it was super productive and super efficient, and they had a great time. Anyways, my hands are like this, because I do this, and I do this a lot, and I do this, and hello. What the fuck was I saying? So I called Grandma. Hold on, let me bring this back a little bit. This is like where the perspective was coming in. So before I called her, I was thinking to myself, all right, why, right? Why did this happen to me? Like, I have to make some sort of logic out of the situation for my sanity. I was thinking about it and I was like, you know what? I'm glad that this happened while I was driving the car, because I don't know what would have happened if the check engine light and if it was feeling putt-putt, if my grandmother was driving her car, and then if that happened while she was driving it, she could have reacted differently and then something could have happened. So in my mind, I was like, okay, maybe the reason why my car broke down was so that I would borrow grandma's car, so that I would find out that there was a problem with it, so then she wouldn't experience the problem while she was driving. Perspective. Yeah, that was kind of like how I chose to see the situation. So I was like, all right, cool. Whether that's the reasoning or not, fuck it. I got my reasoning. I'm good. Grandma's safe and sound. So I called her up and I was like, hey, Grandma. Thanked her, blah, blah, blah. And then she's laughing and she's like, no, because I apologized. I was like, I'm sorry for what happened to your car. Like, I swear to God, I didn't do anything. And she's like, no, it's not your fault. Like, it's fine. And then she's laughing. She's like, this would happen. She goes, I shit you not. She goes, well, honestly, Michael, like, you know, if anything, thank you. Like, I'm glad that it happened while you were driving, because who knows what could have happened if I was driving and like how I would have reacted to it. She's like, knowing Grandma, I would have like swerved off the road or something. And she's like laughing about it. And then she's like, then you would have found Grandma in a ditch. And I'm like, no, don't say that. I don't want to find Grandma in a ditch. But I think that I was happy to hear that, because that was kind of like my logic in my head of the situation, and then to hear that she felt the same way was good. After that, went to the second day in my car, crushed the second day, and I was super stoked with how everything came out. But that is my long rant on perspective. I hope that resonates with some of you, and if it doesn't, that's cool, but I hope it does, because you really have to think about what certain situations and what certain things are doing for you, not to you. That makes sense. I don't know if I said that properly. I feel like I didn't, because the main point here is that I could have taken some of these situations. Oh, and by the way, on top of all that shit, like, there were some gigs that fell through. So that's another thing. Like, so while I was sick, some gigs fell through, some shit didn't happen. So I like build up by kind of like L, taking those losses, whatever. So that's what like the build up was at the beginning of the week too. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, you can see it literally as, you know, why is this happening to me? Or why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Or why is this happening to me? Two totally different ways to look at the same exact thing, and I would highly suggest the second one. It'll just keep you more sane, and it's not necessarily, I mean, it is being optimistic, but it's not being naive, if that makes sense. So it's like that sense of like realism, like, yeah, so this shit is happening to me, but why? Like, there's a reason. And if for some reason you can't take something like, oh, why did this? Like, there was a reason for that. Then you have to think about it in the future. Like, okay, cool. So from this situation, how am I going to feel about this in the future? Like, what am I going to take from this then? So then you can look back on that moment and that situation and be like, that's why. Okay. So even if you don't understand it now, just know that there's a reason, there's a purpose, there's like something that is causing everything to happen. I don't know what it is. Nobody does. I blame energy and law of attraction. But hey, I don't know shit. So that is my rant on everything. I hope that y'all have a beautiful day. I'm gonna go edit and be productive, because I woke up today and I was not feeling good mentally, and that's okay, because I had a pep talk with myself in the shower. Where is it? Boom, right there. And just kind of was like, Michael, this kind of goes with perspective. Michael, you woke up today. You woke up later than you wanted to, and you felt like shit because you felt like you misused the time during the day, and you felt unproductive. Now, how many times in the past has that happened? And how many of those times can you remember that affected you right now? So what the f*** is this day going to do against you in a week or two from now? Nothing. It's not. So I have a choice on whether I want to actually go out and do something and change my day around, or just sit there and dwell on it and get in my head and be like, oh, I'm not productive, I'm not this, I'm not that, which makes me want to punch myself in the face. That was kind of another view on perspective, even today, you know? And those are things that I think happen quite often doing what I'm doing. I find myself in these situations where I really have to rely on perspective, and I'm starting to learn that more and more the longer that I'm doing this, because not every day is great. Not every day is great. And I think that that's what's so important to understand, is that there's so many days that I have to wake up and that I have to just like look up at the ceiling and I have to go, you know what? Get your ass up. You know, like, get the fuck up. You know why you do this. You know why you do this. And that's all that matters. You know? And there's a lot of reasons why I shouldn't get up. But there's a lot more why I should. I think that's it. Stay positive, stay ambitious, stay beautiful, stay caffeinated. That's it.